Gamers love Dying Light. Developer Techland has released 2 of these games so far, and they've both been massive hits with players around the globe. And sure enough, it looks like the devs are coming back for more. In today's video, we're going to unpack what could change in Dying Light 3, plus all the new stories from the world of video games. Let's get into it. First up, Techland's zombie pedigree. Techland's a dev team from Poland, and they've managed to hit gold with Dying Light and its sequel, Dying Light 2: Stay Human. But these devs didn't start out making these games. What's more, this isn't even the first time they've made a game about zombies. These guys actually have a ton of experience working with the blood and guts of the zombie video game genre, and honestly, it shows. You need experience to make something as fun as Dying Light. The team started out making racing and sports sims, but their first real hit was the Call of Juarez series of games. Those were first-person shooters from the PS3, Xbox 360 era, and though they weren't always well received, those games taught Techland how to make FPS games. Their next major hit was the Dead Island series, and this was where you got to see them tackling zombies for the first time. Those Dead Island games were in the zombie action genre, and you could tell this dev really knew how to make zombie carnage fun with FPS mechanics. With that and the open world island that the Dead Island games put you on, these games had all the DNA of the Dying Light games, with just one thing missing. And if you've played Dying Light, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. It's one of the biggest parts of what makes the gameplay fun. That's right, we're talking about the game's first-person parkour. Next, an evolutionary new franchise. Techland wanted to level up after Dead Island, which was fun, but had a pretty goofy feel to it. The devs wanted to build something more serious, with a grounded story and a full day-night cycle in the open world. But the biggest gameplay change they wanted to bring to the zombie genre was an awesome new parkour system that made moving around the open world a super enjoyable breeze. The goal was to make players feel free while running from and smashing into zombies, and this parkour system did the trick. The developers built the whole game around it, and they actually worked with professional parkour athletes to design it. Zombies and parkour came together to form a gameplay experience that gamers hadn't ever seen before, and the first Dying Light game was a massive hit. More than 20 million copies of the first game have been sold. It was so big, the devs were updating it 7 years after release. Basically, it was a game everyone felt committed to, and there was absolutely huge demand for a sequel. Techland answered with Dying Light 2: Stay Human, which was released this year in February. The game built on the first game in awesome ways. They added a paraglider and a grappling hook for the parkour, and made the open world a post-apocalyptic city for the players to explore. There were even multiple endings. That's right, it was a full-on RPG. Stay Human has already sold 5 million copies after just 4 months of being out. Players obviously love the ways the series has evolved, but as always, they're hungry for more. And that brings us to the question of where Dying Light 3 could be headed. So, what's next for Dying Light? Dying Light 2 is a pretty big step up from the first game, and we mean literally bigger. The tallest building in Part 1 was the observation tower, but in Part 2, you climb up skyscrapers. According to the creators, it can take players up to 500 hours to fully complete the sequel, which is pretty insane when you think about it. Now, we all know sequels have to one-up their predecessors, so Dying Light 3 will probably go even bigger, and what we've heard so far definitely supports that. According to the sequel's lead designer, Timon Smektala, the biggest change that his team would want to bring to the third installment in the series would be a cooler starting skill set. Smektala says they'd want the main character to have bigger and better abilities and skills right at the start of the game. That's pretty exciting, seeing as Dying Light 2 already gives you some pretty sweet skills in the opening hours, like the far jump and the head stomp. Giving the player more powers at the get-go means they'll be able to unlock even crazier abilities as the game goes on. Smektala says that'll give players a lot of different play styles to choose from, even more than the stealth, action, parkour choices that Stay Human offers. That's pretty exciting, since Dying Light games usually start you off pretty weak and then give you upgrades to make you stronger. It's worth noting, though, that Smektala hasn't fully confirmed that Dying Light 3 is in development and scheduled for release. He's just let us know what he'd want to do in a sequel. That's probably because the company's got some other projects in the works as we speak, and they're pretty cool. And now, the future of Techland. Way back in 2016, after the release of Dying Light and before Dying Light 2 was even announced, Techland revealed that it was working on a brand new open-world action RPG. They'd apparently been working on it for a year at that point, and they've recently confirmed that it's still in development. That means they've been working on this one game for even longer than Dying Light 2. The studio has hired devs from CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft, and Arcane teams for this title, which looks pretty epic. They're also planning on supporting Dying Light 2 for 5 years with new content. With all that on their plate, it might be a little difficult to focus on Dying Light 3 for a while, but since we know Techland always delivers for the fans, we're pretty happy with waiting. Now, in other news, EA announces Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's time for Star Wars fans to get hyped, because EA just unveiled the sequel to the super hit Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at Star Wars Celebration. It's called Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and the reveal came with a trailer and a 2023 release window. The trailer doesn't give away any of the plot, but we did get some looks at the game's new villains and main character, Cal Kestis. Cal seems to have lost his lightsaber, and we can only imagine what that means for the game. Will the game center around getting Cal a new saber? We'll find out when Jedi Survivor comes out on PC, PS5, and the latest Xboxes next year. With a team as awesome as Respawn developing the title, it's definitely going to be one of the best games coming out next year. Next, Sonic Frontiers trailer released. We've finally been given a look at the new Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers, and trust us when we say this thing looks wild. The trailer's pretty short, but it shows Sonic running through some gorgeous fields, along with some punchy combat. We even get a glimpse of a boss battle. This gameplay is reminding everyone of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and the thought of a Sonic game with that much freedom is pretty exciting. Sega, the devs behind the game, are promising something groundbreaking. This trailer definitely lives up to the hype. After the Sonic movies came out and played pretty well, fans have been clamoring for new Sonic games. It's been a while since we've gotten one of those, but honestly, this one looks like it's about to deliver. And Cyberpunk 2077 DLC is on its way. Yeah, we know. Cyberpunk 2077 was a major disappointment after all that pre-release hype. It was a buggy mess, but it looks like the devs at CD Projekt Red are doing their best to win back the fans with a massive expansion for the game planned for 2023. Could this be a redemption story for the Polish developer? We certainly hope so. Basically, details of the expansion leaked online, and what we're hearing is that the DLC is going to open up areas from the main game that were completely inaccessible before. That's right, we're finally going to be able to enter the combat zone and the sports dome. They're also adding new missions and story content that'll affect the main campaign's ending. There's a lot riding on the expansion, and it looks like CD Projekt Red are really committing themselves to it. Lastly, Returnal is heading for a PC release. It looks like PC gamers might soon find themselves on Atropos, the alien planet from the hit PS5 game Returnal. According to a Steam database listing, a PC port of the game is getting ready to release on Steam, giving millions of players the chance to play Housemarque's sci-fi action adventure game. This is pretty predictable, since Sony's been making a habit of porting PlayStation exclusive games over to PC. They've already done it with God of War, Uncharted, and Horizon Zero Dawn, and Returnal's a great game to put out there. And since Returnal's got a multiplayer mode now, this PC port is going to open up a lot of new lobbies for play. Yup, PC fans aren't the only ones winning here. That's a wrap for this video. Are you excited for the next Dying Light game? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.